I love it.
Go with this one.
Welcome, everybody. Animal Dreaming Publishing. I hope that I'm coming through clear. If you can let me know, that would be great. It's Tonia Reeves, Australia's Cowgirl Medium, and I'm really excited today to be interviewing Tracey Jewel. Tracey, welcome to the show. And there's such a list of all of the things that you've done. I mean, I remember Max. I remember that season because I was horrified and had to, like, you know, when things transpired, I was like, oh my God, that poor girl. I sort of nearly couldn't continue on after seeing what you experienced. I was just like, how do they let that happen? So, but there's a lot that's happened.
Yeah, a lot has happened, and I can't believe it was 3 years ago. So much.
Wow, really? Wow, that's incredible. So share your journey. I'd love to hear. You've got your 2 books that I can't wait to read. So, share that for us. I'd love to hear.
Well, there's quite a story to it because I was introduced to animal dreaming, my goodness, back in like 2011 when I kind of started down my whole self-empowerment journey. And I was really drawn to Scott and Trudy, and I used to go and visit all the Mind, Body, Spirit expos and immerse myself in that world. And it was going through that journey that I decided to write this goddess, Don't Mess with the Goddess, in 2016. And it's always those defining moments in your life that you just kind of journal it for yourself, right? And you go through a internal process of just needing to get it out. And then you start sharing parts of your story with people. And if you've been to those expos, you would know you get to meet a lot of different types of people. And then people start resonating with it. And they're like, I can relate to this, I can relate to that. And that's where the whole book journey kind of evolved from. And the same for maths, you know, everyone has been cheated on or has cheated or knows someone that's been cheated. And it was the same kind of situation, being on such a high profile reality show. Everyone could relate going through relationship issues and struggles.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, that's as bad as everyone feels that you have to experience that. I suppose people really relate to that in they can, you know, it's real, isn't it? I suppose it's what someone's experiencing.
Exactly. And I love connection with people, and sometimes you can only heal so much yourself, where if you have a conversation with someone or share it with someone, you know, 1 + 1 = 3, right? It doesn't equal 2. So we can heal so much faster and learn so much more about ourselves by connecting and reading and sharing our stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's everyone comes from a different perspective, but it's great to you have that instant connection when somebody's been through something similar and they can share that. And it's about being open and vulnerable, isn't it? Which kind of was what you were forced to really do, whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah, it's such a journey, right? Like, I thought I was okay. And a book's a little bit different because you kind of get to choose what you're putting on the paper and what you're choosing to share. And what I wasn't ready for with reality TV and after reality TV, having, you know, social media and the magazines and all of that, is it was just like this open door to my whole life, not just the bits I wanted to show. So I had to learn boundaries super fast, which is something I've always struggled with. And it was crazy to think suddenly everything I did was under a microscope and everyone had an opinion and a perspective. And, you know, it's hard enough navigating that at work or with your friends and family, right? Like, we all want to be liked. We all want to get along with people, and their opinions matter to us. And then when you multiply that by, you know, 100,000 people, it's quite overwhelming. And for me, I developed anxiety because of it, because it was all too much at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many people's opinions. I mean, it's a constant, isn't it? That you just, you know, that's how people like to have an opinion, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. It's like, I don't get a lot of it. It's like, you know, just scroll on, or you know, like it would be very confronting, and it's probably something that anyone in the spotlight can relate to. That you've got to get over not being liked by everybody. And as people, we want to be liked, don't we?
Exactly. And I think it comes back to, I talk energy a lot and frequencies. And I think at some point you have to just energetically back yourself, because the hardest times in my life, I was giving my power away to people's opinions. And, you know, too much of external stuff. And I was like, but this isn't it's not making me happy. It's not taking me anywhere closer to where I want to be in my vision and what I want to share with the world and the type of life I want to live, right? So at some point, you've got to cut the cord and energetically back yourself and listen to the people you want to listen to that fits your vision, and just let the rest go, right? And you know what happened when I started doing that is I started attracting more of the people that were aligned to me. Beautiful. And the others, the trolls and all that, kind of just washed away.
Yeah. And it's true. And I mean, your experience is one that, you know, well, not many of us travel that path, but it is, as you do gain more power, you know, it's about sitting comfortably with you and gaining those tools to help. And I would imagine reading your books would be quite powerful for people to get a real understanding of how to stand strong in those times when things are hard. And we all get times where people, you know, we have conflict around us, don't we?
Exactly. And it doesn't matter if you're on reality TV or you're dealing with a difficult boss or a difficult family member. And I've had so many people reach out to me with my books because they're like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, self-empowerment's a big word, but it's more about self-care and that energy, taking your power back. And that's why I chose the titles, Don't Mess with the Goddess and This Goddess Means This, right? Because it's a little bit like, you can decide. Yes, we can't decide sometimes who our boss is. Yes, we can't decide who we have in our family. We can't always decide the type of people that are in our life, but we can decide how we react and how we live our life. So that's what we can control, and that's the premise of essentially the book.
Yeah, brilliant. And be great coming up to Christmas time for gifts with your books, and there'd be a lot out there that'd love that and get so much out of it, I can imagine.
Yeah, and the reason I chose like such a cute little square, you know, kind of inspirational quotes and little like bite-sized chunk messages is, for me, you know, I've been down this journey in self-development, goodness, for 17 years now, since 2001, since I was 21. And I would absorb a book, and I just love reading. But because it's so much, and, you know, you can only read so much, we only have so much downtime, I found it hard to take action and take inspired action from what I was reading, right? Yeah. So I wanted to be able to deliver it in bite-sized chunks. So, you know, it's all well and good when you feel great and you feel motivated. You have no problem reading a book like that, right?
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Downtimes, or if you're waking up with anxiety or you're just having a struggle day, you just don't have the bandwidth to read a massive book and absorb it. And that's where this type of learning comes in, where you can open to any page, just read 1 or 2 pages and absorb it, and then it kickstarts that day and can help get you out of that little funk. Because it's in the moments of the funk that we really need the help, right? We're not always motivated.
No. That's part of the journey. I think we was only talking about that earlier this morning. It's like, no, we're not, none of us are perfect. There's no suddenly we get it and we move forward and we don't have any problems again. It's like a constant flow, isn't it? Like it's no perfect person.
And that's what self-care is all about. And I'm working on a book, Being Pregnant right now. It is focused around pregnancy and birthing something, whether it's a child or a business or a new project. Self-care is, you know, again, a word that's floated around a lot, but really it's not just self-care in the moments you need it, right? It's self-care every day. So then when you do have the moments, you know, the burnouts and the stress and, you know, which are inevitable, as you said, like we're always going to have the ups and downs, but if we're self-caring all the way along, we can deal with those, you know, days so much better and also recover from those moments a lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what people relate to, is it's keeping it real, isn't it? Like, when we're not saying there's that perfect answer that's one fits everybody. It's about the different aspects. And I can see that with what I have researched with your book, is that there'd be aspects that you could, open it up to, even just having a bit of fun with it, and open up to a page and go, oh, that's a message that's relevant to me right now. And I can gain from that.
Yeah, exactly. And don't you think it's so funny? And I mean, I just love some of the oracle cards that Animal Dreaming put out. I'm a massive fan of intention cards and affirmation cards. And I just love how whenever you flick to a page of a book or pick a card, it's like it talks directly to you. It's like exactly what you needed in that moment, right? You're like, yes, this was like exactly what I just needed to stop and pause and just hear that message.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so powerful to be surrounded. I mean, it's a real positive thing, isn't it, to have your cards and to have your book and to have those things around you that you can just jump on when you're having a day or a moment.
Exactly. And I believe, like, I mean, my goodness, I'll show you, like, on my desk here, I have like affirmations and stuff, because we're such visual creatures. It's what we surround ourselves by. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Whether that's crystals for you or words, everyone, has different tangible elements they're attracted to. I truly believe if you have this stuff in your home and you're surrounded by your journals and these books and things, I think it adds to the whole energy of your home, and you wake up in a different state.
I agree, totally. If I could pull my affirmations off, I've got them all stuck on with blue tack, and I'm like, I'm breaking them. But I'm the same. I've got them around my workspace. It's like so powerful, and it's such an easy thing to do that we could all do with affirmations, and it makes such a big difference in hitting that subconscious. You don't even necessarily consciously look at them, but we're taking that all in, like you say.
Exactly. And part of one of my books is I talk a lot about vision boarding. And I've run vision board workshops, part of Mind, Body, Spirit Exposed and everything else for years. And this is the thing, you don't even sometimes need to consciously make sense of it, but you have to energetically feel it. That's what makes a vision board work, right? And that's when things show up in your life. You don't have to mentally get it. But if you don't feel something towards it, there's no energy there. So it's never going to manifest in your life if there's no energy, even if you might think, I want this and I want that. That's all in the head. We have to feel it.
So true. And that's a super attraction, isn't it, really, to be able to, if you can't sense it or you can't picture it happening, that there's a real block there, isn't there, to start with, because you're not going to be able, you've got to sit in that moment and go, yes, I can imagine that I'm at that place. I'm in that holiday destination.
Yeah, the best thing now, I think we're all imagining being at a holiday destination.
Absolutely. It's really been amazing, hasn't it, with the whole thing? And I suppose because you're over in Western Australia, aren't you? So you haven't had the numbers that we've all had the other side of Australia.
That's correct. We've been very lucky, very grateful, almost living in our own bubble here. But I have a lot of family in the UK, and they're in second-time lockdowns, and I have a lot of friends in Melbourne who have really struggled this year. And I think a lot of us have had to pivot the way we connect with people, being really mindful of how much news and negativity we absorb, and making sure we do surround ourselves and balance it out with positivity, I think has been more important than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been made to stop and really reassess, haven't we?
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. Life is all about seasons, right? And I feel like this year has been a long winter for a lot of people, but we need winter. We can't always be in spring, and we can't always be in summer. So while we're in winter, we may as well make the most of it.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. That's great, because it's true. We've just been stuck there a bit longer than normal. So
exactly. So we'll just have a really long summer next year. That's what I've decided.
I love that. So how many weeks pregnant are you?
I'm just over the halfway mark. So I'm 21
awesome.
weeks with 22 and having a baby boy, which is so exciting because I already have a daughter. And oh my goodness, it's such a beautiful experience because I was 27 and now I'm 38. And it is, my body definitely feels different at 38 being pregnant than 27, that's for sure. I definitely feel it. But this is a beautiful thing. 3 years ago, if you told me, you know, off the back of Married at First Sight, would I have found, you know, a partner, be getting married, having a baby? Like I wouldn't have, although I wanted this for myself, I wouldn't have believed it was possible from where I was at 3 years ago. And I just love the sense that we can always chameleonize ourselves, right? We can always start again. We can always reset. And we can always just draw a line in the sand and choose for something else. And after maths, what I realized is I was repeating the same patterns in relationships. And when you watch yourself on television, it made it so clear, oh my goodness, I've just picked the same type of guy that I always do. And they never work out, right? And I think a lot of us do this. We pick like the same job over and over again, expecting that new job to make us happy. But it's the same as the last job. So that's insane, doing the same thing over and over and expecting something to be different. And I was doing that in relationships, picking the same type of guys, same result, right? Heartbroken or cheated on or whatever it was. So I really took the opportunity just to pause and really reflect, okay, what are the actual qualities I want in someone? Not what they look like or what they do for a living, the actual alignment of energy and vision and intention. And I bumped into an old high school boyfriend of mine, and that was it. We've been together for, over 2 years now. So
that is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's such great inspiration for others that maybe, you know, have been through the same thing and thinking, oh, you know, am I going to be on my own, or, you know, that are wanting those things. But until you have that reflection, and, you know, I think that's a great thing to think about is, what are you constantly attracting? Because for some, it's a subconscious thing. They don't even realize till they have that opportunity. And like you said, you've had that with the show to look back and go, that's a massive realization, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to admit that self-responsibility, that hang on a minute, I can't keep blaming him, and him. There's two in this. It takes two to tango. I'm choosing this as well. And to look at yourself and like own that, it's a little bit icky to sit in that. But on the other side of it, it's so freeing, right? And that's not that everything's perfect, you know. Being pregnant, you know, brings up some trauma of my first pregnancy with my ex-husband. That wasn't a nice relationship. And, you know, it's keeping that in check of what is current and what is past, and separating the two. And the past doesn't have to equal the future. And the only way it does is if we make it so, right? We're the ones that bring our past into our current reality. By thinking about it and ruminating about it and talking about it. I choose not to talk about my past that much, because I'd rather talk about today and tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a powerful one too. Like, people, you know, because conversation and words, you know, create reality, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I've had quite a few girlfriends and things that it's been years and they seem stuck and stagnant. And then, you know, I started listening to their language, and they started listening to their language, and they're talking about 5 years ago. It's like they're still living 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And they talk about it, and they pretty much mentally live there. So, of course, nothing's changed in their current reality, because in their head, they're living 5 years ago.
True. How lucky to have you to identify that for them. And I know many on the feed, hi, everybody that's connecting with us today, you know, are saying the same. It's like they relate to, oh, my God, it's, you know, so true and so relevant to relook at things and bring about change, isn't it? I think as humans, we innately suck at change. Like, you know, I think it just, yeah. And it's craziness, really, when you think about it. Like, why do we do that? Like, why do we sit in the same
space
and then expect something different, because it doesn't add up logically, but many of us do it.
But a lot of us can't get out of our own way, right? We just can't, because we don't like change, or we're scared or fearful, or we don't, we kind of rationalize it that it's not that bad. And that's like why it's literally the first section of my book, Get Out of Your Own Way. And sometimes we need a book to tell us that, or a really good friend to tell it like it is, because sometimes it's just all in our head. It's not actually real. We've just made it real, right? But sometimes we can't get out of our own funks. And, especially, oh my goodness, for the first few weeks of my pregnancy, I definitely went through a funk, because I had all day nausea, throwing up all day. For those that have been pregnant and been through that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like a 24-hour hangover that never goes away. And I was totally having a pity party for myself, right? And it's hard when you don't feel well, or you're tired, you've got health stuff going on. It's so easy to get in that pity party, blame game. And I really needed some good support and friends around me to look at options to make the most and see the blessings, see the gratitude.
Yeah, and that's that, and that is, it's the hindsight with things, isn't it? Sometimes, or being reminded of it in that moment.
Exactly, and that's what good friends are for, or books, or affirmation cards. All those little reminders around us can make a massive difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So with your programs, you also do, and that's programs around exactly what you're talking about. So they would be amazing for people to jump on board with as well. Tracey, tell us a bit about those.
Yeah, so we started a movement called Up Self, and I love Up Self because self-care isn't selfish, or being up yourself isn't, spending time with yourself doesn't mean you're up yourself. And we create Facebook groups and programs for exactly this. Sometimes we don't have that support around us that we need to help ourselves out of situations. So although I am, a mental health professional, the group is more just a group of friends in a supportive container, helping each other through, where you can be authentic and real, and, share, and also, ask questions, have that support when you need it, but also learn some strategies around self-care and developing your own self-care plan and wellness plans to make sure when we do hit the bumps in the road, we are supported and we can, take our power back and support ourselves through it.
Yeah, and that is big. And like you say, because not everyone has that support. You take for granted that people have friends and family around, but they're certainly not the case for everybody.
And that's what I love about this year with COVID, and there's always blessings that come out of hard times, right? Is, now we can connect with people all over the world more than ever, like things like this, via Zoom, like Facebook groups. So if you don't have that support in your community, or, your close friends and family, then you can access it elsewhere. And, we have people in our programs from all over the world, which is just lovely.
That's so cool, isn't it? And I think that is, it's like we don't feel so isolated. And even for people that are busy working, they can have that time then to, with a Zoom meeting, it's not, they don't have to drive anywhere or take the time out to get somewhere. It's kind of, time-wise, it's quite easy, isn't it, to dedicate time to that.
And that's what self-care really should be. It should be something that you have to block out an hour on a Friday night or a Saturday. You should be able to easily integrate it into your everyday, because we are our everyday routines and habits, right? So if we can easily do, adding 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, which we can all fit in, that equals up more than just blocking out an hour once a week, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's craziness. And it's something we don't always talk about or think about, isn't it? Until someone reminds us to say, hey, how much self-care are you doing right now?
They're like the little tap on the shoulder for your blind spots, 100%.
So what you do, yeah, exactly, that little ding, little message. So do you do coaching, or what have you, obviously you're in the wellness field, and I love the fact you've got the Healy. I'm waiting for mine at the moment, so that they are sounding pretty amazing.
Yeah, so, after maths, I've always been a marketing strategist and helping women in business, and particularly women in wellness businesses has always been my jam. I've always been driven to wellness. And I find a lot of wellness professionals are amazing at what they do, but they're not the best at putting themselves out there and promoting themselves, right? And getting new clients and making it a profitable business, right? Just because you love what you do doesn't mean you can't make a living off it. So my passion has always been helping women in wellness from that perspective. And then I decided to start going down the wellness route myself, and I studied a diploma of mental health and diploma of counselling. So I kind of integrate self-care and coaching with marketing help for wellness professionals, because wellness professionals need self-care too, right? They're so busy looking after everyone else, they're burnt out, and we're all energy, like being with clients all day, regardless what a great professional you are, you will take on that energy, and we need to look after ourselves as well. So the majority of my day is spent doing one-on-one coaching with wellness professionals, and so they look after their self-care and automate their marketing and make sure that they can make the impact and live the vision that they want and make money while doing it. And Healy is a great tool to be able to do that as well. So that ties in nicely with everything else that I do.
Yeah, that's perfect. And it is true. So many, I know a lot in our industry that exactly like you say, because we're emotionally driven because it's that empathic side that then, to be able to put that out there and do that marketing and get into that business brain, for many, it's very much of a contrast and a struggle. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. And one quick learning that I will share for those that are either wanting to get into wellness as a business or are in some kind of wellness business, you need to tick the 3 boxes, and they're joy, value, and profit. And most people get into wellness businesses because they want to give value to people. They love it, and it brings them so much joy. They love what they do, but they don't look after the profit bit, right?
Yeah.
You need all 3 to be sustainable and live your best life. And a lot of them come from corporate jobs or backgrounds and want to make the shift to wellness because they had the profit sorted. They gave a little bit of value, right? But they weren't joyful. They weren't getting any joy out of it. So I believe that you can have all 3. You can have joy, value, and profit, but you just need to sometimes have some people on your team to be able to help you do that. It's hard to do it all on your own.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's almost like getting the right people that are the experts in that area if you can't do it yourself, isn't it?
Exactly. And I understand wellness, which is why I love marketing strategy for them, because you just want to focus on what you do best, which is helping people and serving with your modality, whether you're a kinesiologist or a medium or, an energy healer. You still need someone else to help you on your team with the profit bit and the value bit, but do what you do best that brings you joy. We don't have to put on all the hats.
That's so true. And I know there's a lot of comments there. Thanks, Hayley's put in there. Fantastic advice. She's loving this. And, there's no coincidence that you're all listening and tuning in right now and, getting the green lights as Tracey's having that conversation to say, yep, this is relative. And that's what I love so much, a synchronicity of those in alignment and getting the right message at the right time.
Yes, there's no mistake, people tuning into this or watching the recording. We all, come across things for a reason, and whether, everything resonates or just one thing resonates, sometimes just that one little thing and one aha moment can just change everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've given us heaps today. I'm loving all your advice and the way that you explain things, Tracey. You're great. It's so easy to relate to.
It's so funny, like when I come into spaces like this, I never pre-plan what I'm going to say, and yes, it's all about plugging books or whatever, but I just go with energy. I don't doubt myself. I just go with what flows, and I always deliver what I feel like people really need to hear at this particular time, and I don't overthink it. I'm not in my head. I'm just flow is
I
where
love that. It's true, because if it's, you get, like you say, you get into your head, and then if you've rehearsed things and then you're trying to, think about it as you say it, the message then just gets a little bit mixed up, and it doesn't quite come, come across as clear and as heartfelt. And that's is really the amazing difference, is to go, I'm the same. I love being spontaneous and go, you know what, with all of our interviews with the authors, and I've been blessed to interview some amazing authors through Animal Dreaming, and the best ones are the ones that get on 2 minutes before, jump on, let's have a chat, and let's just have a conversation like friends, and get everyone fired up in the comments, and it's always great fun. I agree with you there.
That's what makes you a beautiful and wonderful medium. Like, I can tell with your energy, if you were in your own head all the time or trying to decipher the messages coming through, then they wouldn't be delivered and serving the people that need to hear them, right? And I sometimes truly believe we're just a channel, right, between someone's divine self and connecting them with that. And that's all we are.
Thank you. That's beautiful. So true. It is. You can't, and how many times do we get into that situation as humans where you do get in your head about, or people do. It's such a default setting, isn't it, for some to overthink or, make a decision on something and be so excited. Then all of a sudden that inner voice comes in to go, hang on a minute, what are you doing?
And it's usually that first instinct, that's the one that's right. That's actually your divine self and your soul talking to you. So that first, if you've been listening to this or reading something and you get, what I'm talking about, you get that first insight of that idea and inspiration. You wouldn't have been given that idea or inspiration by the divine or your soul or the universe or God or whatever you call it, unless for a reason. And then we, in our heads and our little mind chatter, get in the way of that, right? So I like to follow that first initial instinct and that first imagination and that inspiration.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's so true. It's something I relate to, is getting in flow. I think the more we can try and get into flow, it's not that life is always smooth, but if we become a little bit non-resistant and flexible and flowing, it certainly makes life easier than, like you say, like holding yourself back or, double thinking things and or overthinking things.
Yeah. And they're easy habits to get into as well. But just like the habits we can get into, they're also habits we can get out of.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. And so with your books, do you you read one and then the other, are they like a continuation, or basically you can pick up either of them, doesn't matter in any order?
Yeah, so it's kind of like 50 books in one book, right? Because they're all kind of designed as little like stories and chapters. So the Don't Mess with the Goddess and This Goddess Means Business are along the same premises. So it's all those little moments of blind spots that we might not be seeing, or getting out of our own head, or trying to make that shift or that change that we talked about that sometimes is so hard to make. The only difference is This Goddess Means Business is for women as well that want to make that shift into having their own business, whether it's, a side hustle, a part-time hobby, or a full-time career shift. So it is more around how do we get out of our own way to back ourselves and make a shift to do what we love to do, right? And feel comfortable and confident in making that leap, right? I call it a quantum leap, right? Because it can feel overwhelming at times. Where Don't Mess with the Goddess is more around those boundaries I was talking about, not letting the external in, building yourself up with self-care, and having that resilience against no matter what life throws at you, that you can back yourself and live the life that you choose to live.
Yeah. That's awesome. So they'll both be very empowering for people either way. I can't wait to read them. They sound awesome.
Yeah, they're on the way. It's only
I know with COVID at the moment, it's like everything's, taking twice as long to get everywhere. It's, just how it is. But we're learning patience through all of this, I think, like whether we want to learn it or not.
Yep, we're just have to learn the patience 100% and be organised. Planning in
Absolutely. And we've had time to do that, haven't we? It's like, okay, we've got a bit of extra time here and there, you know, and I think that's one thing for me that I've noticed is I value time more now. Like, and I think it really made me reassess what I committed my time to, whether it was for good or I was wasting time on things that weren't, you know, like the little things that sometimes you fluff around with and take time doing that aren't really relevant. And then you can get something that is really relevant that you're not putting enough, you know, it's getting that balance, isn't it? So,
I love that. I love that. It does. When you've got more time, you actually look at how you're spending it, right? And then making more conscious choices on how you do spend it.
yeah.
That's really cool. What a great, beautiful blessing to get out of this year.
It's certainly what I've found is, you know, and I think we've had to look at it that way. Like I'm in country Victoria, so we were in the lockdown and then we've been out of it a bit sooner rather than Melbourne. But we're lucky, you know, we live on a farm, so, you know, you could get outside and still feel fairly free, whereas those in Melbourne, you know, that are in smaller, you know, like might be in a unit or something would have been terribly confined to, you know, throughout the whole lockdown. But it really did make me sort of look at it and go, you know, I can either make this 2020 a very crap year, or I can look back and go, this is what I gained from it, you know, and really make that commitment. And that's really helped, definitely.
Yeah, and that's the shift, right? I mean, when lockdowns all started in March, I was doing a tour with Healy, a roadshow all over Australia, and was supposed to go to America and the UK and do tours over there for it, and all that got postponed and cancelled. And I could have been like, well, that's a write-off for my year, and just, you know, gone hands up, reset, I'll wait till next year, and just play that waiting game, which I think a lot of people feel like we've been doing this year, is just waiting to live. And then I decided, you know what? Yes, I can't do those things right now, right? I can't control that, but what can I do? Okay, well, maybe it's about pivoting. And maybe instead of having a baby next year, we'll have a baby this year. And, you know, you can certainly do that in lockdown.
I love it. Do you reckon there'll be a baby boom this year? I reckon there'd have to be a baby boom, wouldn't there?
I've heard a lot of people, I reckon the coronials, you know how we have the millennials and Gen X and Gen Y? I think we're going to have like coronial babies.
We've got to find the joy in it, don't we? You've got to have a bit of a laugh. Yeah. I think that's what's saved us. It's like you can't take life too seriously. Like, you got to have fun with it and go, all right, we've been handed a shit sandwich, but we're going to make the most of it.
Yeah, and, you know, it's so funny because, like, you know, I'm sure everyone on here loves Netflix and watches Amazon Prime and all of that. And, you know, a lot of our favourite shows have been cancelled and things. Well, now I love going back and reminiscing in my old favourite 1990s movies that I used to watch as a teenager and rewatching them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just loving it. That little bit of nostalgia.
We're getting that opportunity to do that, aren't we? And it's different things. And, you know, I'm sure we'll look back on this year and go, there have been a lot of, you know, positives through something that's been, you know, really hard for many, and those that have lost lives and things, that's been terrible. But for the rest, I do believe we will come through and, you know, looking at things differently. And if that's, you know, the only thing that we've gained from it, that's a massive shift. Like you said before, it's like sometimes we need to take a step back and take a deep breath and then see where things sit with us.
Yes, and for those, you know, aspiring authors watching and listening to this, what a perfect time to start writing that book that we all, I know everyone has a book inside them, right? But it does take time and space to create it. But you know what? That's a blessing too.
Well, that's what we did. I collaborated with a book we've got coming out next month for that exact reason, because I said, you know what, 2020, I'm making a commitment to get things done. It was something we'd been talking about. We said, look, no better time now than dedicate that time. And I actually got I've got Oracle cards coming out. So, and I actually did the art myself. So I just channeled it all straight from spirit. And I never would have thought I would have done that ever. So if I can do it.
You had the space to create that, right? Where at other times you probably didn't have that space. So that's amazing. Congratulations. I can't wait to see them.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And that was something that I wouldn't have envisioned doing. So I think it's well, it's actually mediumship. So it's messages from spirit. So the work that I do, because I connect to so many, through clients and their loved ones in spirit. And I thought, I want a deck that represents that, so that people can utilize them to connect to their loved ones in spirit at any time. Whether like you say, whether you've got them sitting there and just want to pick up and get a message from your loved one in spirit. It's just that extension of what I do, and I'm really excited about them. And I know Scott and Trudy are really excited, and they're such a great supportive. The two of them are just make it so seamless and easy that I think you can't go wrong when you have the right people to align with doing something like this, because it's like birthing a baby. It is very much, you're putting everything out there, and you know that, Tracey, like, as in it's like, oh, is this all going to work? Like I can see it in my head and this is what I picture, but you've got to also trust who you're, publishing with, to be able to know that they're there to just guide you on those, it's a little bit like we can do the content, but it's about those professionals that can look and they put things into place and go, yes, this is going to work, or no, we need to tweak that. And that's been invaluable as well.
This is what's so beautiful about them is, just like I come in and help in marketing, you don't have to be good at everything. Do what you do best, which is the content, which is that vision to help and give value and serve to people, and let the experts do the rest for you. You know what I mean? That's what their jam is. You don't have to learn typesetting and editing and formatting and distribution of books, and you focus on what you do best and let an amazing supportive team around you help you. We're not an island. We can't do everything ourselves, and if we try and do everything ourselves, we're just going to burn out. Yeah.
And I think this year's been a real collaboration, hasn't it? Like, it's really about connecting more with people, because even though we've been isolated, we've been able to connect, whether it's through, like you said, Zoom or any of those platforms where we can all connect and meet each other. And it's like meeting like-minded and being able to make those new connections.
Yeah, and I think, it's collaboration over competition. The amount of connections I've made where I've done online retreats with 3 or 4 other speakers in similar modalities, the amount of reach we get from doing something like that together is so much more than just me going out and doing it all on my own, as well as the people watching the retreat and being a part of the retreat. They get so much more value because they're getting exposed to all these different people and different learnings than just one person. So I'm all for the win-win.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's others supporting others on our journey is so important.
Yeah. And, for those that, want to dabble in books or programs or workshops and are scared to reach out, remember, everyone's in the same boat. We've all been there at the beginning, scared to reach out to someone. Try it. What have you got to lose? The worst they can do is say, oh, it's not for me or not right now. And you will attract the right tribe that are like you and want to collaborate, because that's the energy you're putting out there. If you're putting the energy out there to collaborate and not just get something or take something, but want to give something, you'll attract those same people, and that's when magic happens. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Great message. I love it. Thank you. Well, it's been an amazing... Yeah, it's been an amazing show, Tracey. You're awesome. Thank you so much, and for sharing so many pearls of wisdom. And I know that many on the feed here today will be, you just can't help but go away and have some new ideas and some powerful insights there, which has been absolutely great. So thank you for taking time out of your day to come on board with us. And it's been a lot of fun, I have to say.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I always love these. I love the pitch and catch. And I hope the listeners and watchers have been able to take an aha moment or two away from this. And it's always love to connect with someone that's as creative and open and as you are. So thanks for your time and energy.
No, my absolute pleasure. Thank you. And I'm sure we'll have you on again.
Yes, I'd love to. After
Ready for your next book.
Yeah.
Love it. Thanks, Tracey.
Take care.
Take care, my dear.